I'm going to make a pair of grab handles for the front row of a Jeep that I got. I've got a 21 model Gladiator,
You like movies about gladiators?
and I'd like to put some grab handles up front. I see them made, and you can buy them, and I want to make some. I already have blue paracord and black paracord, as you can see there. The Jeep is blue, so that works out really well, thank God. I've got, this is going to be my primary color right here. The blue, and then the black is going to be the secondary. And what I see, this is a cobra knot is what this is, that's going to go over this. And the cobra knot just goes over the outside of anything. You could wrap this around a broom handle, you could wrap this around your arm, you could wrap it around another piece of cord. In this case, I'm going to use some 3/4 inch wide webbing that I've had for years. I don't know where I got this. It's fairly stiff. It doesn't feel like it's what is that? Not it may be polyester. It feels too stiff to be nylon, and it seems to, the texture isn't right for it to be the polyethylene. So I'm going to say this is probably polyester. And if I bought this as opposed to scavenging it from someplace, I would have bought polyester. I like polyester. So what this is going to do, this is going to be the structure. This is what's going to be holding the load when you grab a hold of this and pull down on this. The cobra knot on the outside is just decorative. It's just a sheath that's going to go over this, which is why I'm going to use this instead of several passes of cord between it, because I'd like to have it be a little flatter when I grab a hold of it as opposed to being round. So I could use a piece of round rope. I'm not entirely sure. I could use anything. I'm choosing to use this. I'm going to use the handy dandy Singer Heavy Duty Walmart special that I bought years ago for doing exactly this kind of sewing project. I don't do dresses. Anyway, and then on the ends of it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of this cord right here that I've already cut to length. I've got 2 of them there. And I'm going to fold this over into a loop. And I can't do it one-handed, but this is actually going to wind up forming 2 loops because I'm going to weave it like a W or U. I'm going to weave it like something. Anyway, I've already laid it out and I've done it in my hands. I'm like, yep, that's absolutely going to work. So I'm going to wind up with 2 pieces of cord looped right around here. So there'll be 2 pieces coming out. And then, unfortunately, I left the little stopper knots somewhere. I'll show you those in a few moments when I get one over here. I've made some, the mini monkey fist stopper loop that fits in, and I'll show you where that goes in the roll bar. So I'm actually going to be able to drop in a paracord loop through the roll bar. So instead of wrapping something around the roll bar, it's actually going to fit inside the roll bar and hang down below. There's a couple of attachment points there that will work really well for this. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch these 2 pieces together and up and down the left, the right, and the center with a zigzag stitch. The idea being is that as it is right now, this is relatively stiff, but if I really bite down on this and try to hold down on it, it's going to roll up, and I can arc it. See how it kind of bends over? Sorry, there. Bends over there. I want it to stay flatter if I really put a load on it and grab a hold of it tightly and not curl up like a cylinder. And I'm going to also stitch it together because I want the extra strength and I want the extra rigidity across the left and right dimension there. And it's going to be really tough to try to hold all this stuff together if it's loose. So stitching it together is going to help. So again, back to the they call it heavy duty. I've sewed an awful lot of strap with this thing. It was like, I think $150 a lot of years ago at Walmart, maybe even $100. It wasn't much. And then I'm using polyester thread. So anyway, we'll get that stitched up and then we'll go from there. And there's that. I overlapped them a little bit. This stuff is supposed to stretch, by military specification, it's supposed to stretch up to 30% of its length without breaking. So if they're a little uneven, one should be able to stretch enough until it carries the load and shares the load with the other one. So that ought to work well. The stitching looks like frog's butt, but it is secure. It's more secure than I'm going to need it to be anyway, I believe. I've done something. I've sewed a lot of straps. I've sewed straps for strapping down smoker trailers on a larger trailer for transport. So, I mean, the stuff works. Those looked a little bit better. That does really look kind of like crap. But anyway, same thing. I embedded it in between the 2 layers and then stitched over it. And we'll see how well it holds up. When I wrap over this with the blue and the black paracord, though, in the cobra knot, for decoration. It's going to cover all of that up, and we're not gonna see that. Okay, with all the loops on now, and they also kind of look like crap. The coverage, the area that I want to cover with this outer wrap, the cobra knot, is about 10 3/4 of an inch. So I figure that this stuff is claimed to be 1/8 of an inch. So I take 10.75 and divide by 1.125, and I come up with 86. So if this were to lay exactly side by side, you could do it 86 times and cover this whole thing. So what I did is I made that actually 90 inches, and I cut one piece of black and one piece of blue. So this will go down one side more or less. The blue will go down the other side more or less. And I still should wind up with cord left at the end. And that's how I calculated what my cut length was going to be, so that I can pull the ends through. I can't just work off of the spool there. I've got to be able to pass the ends through as I weave this thing. So I couldn't just use the, yeah. Anyway, hey, I couldn't do that. So I cut it to length. I've got a 90-inch black and a 90-inch blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out where I want to start this thing exactly on the end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch the two cords to this so that they're affixed. Some people try to weld the cordage together by melting the two ends and then sticking to one another and patting them down with fingers. I've seen that done on a couple of videos. And I don't want to have to do that. I want this to be more secure than that. And I don't trust that kind of weldment. I'm not sure that the inner, I think it's called the kern, is going to join properly to the other one if I do it like that. The mantle, which I believe is what the outer layer is called, I believe would, but I don't want to take a chance. So I'm going to stitch this on here some way, somehow, and figure it out. So I'll figure it out off camera, and then when I've got it figured out, I'll come back and I'll film that. Okay, there we go. I decided to stitch them. I stitched them both on the same side. I might have been able to alternate by putting one color on the other side. I don't know how smart this was. It was a little bit easier. It felt like to do it like this, so that's how I did it. I did it short at the end because I didn't want to try to stitch across where all this stitching is already in place. The needle sometimes was having a hard time piercing anyway, and so what I'm hoping I can do is I can carefully dress this up. One of the neat things I'll be able to do is I'll be able to use the pull loop there, and I'm going to fix this to something. I don't know what yet. I'll find something around here. Thank God I always do. Find something, whatever. Anyway, and that's going to secure this end so that then I can have like a third hand as I try to weave this on. So I'll go figure that nonsense out. And the reason why these loops are so short is that my intention is with the little button stopper loop that I've got that'll be hanging down or is hanging down from the roll bar right now. I'll just get a stainless steel chain quick link, and I'll use that to attach to the overhead one. And even the little bittiest one, the little 1/8 inch ones that they have, are going to have enough strength to hold more than what the paracord will, I'm pretty sure, and I can look at that. But it's damn sure going to hold more than I'm going to pull on it. I think even the little 1/8 inch stainless steel quick links are capable of handling more than my body weight. So I should be good there. I'll find that out. Anyway, right now I'm going to go hook this onto something and see if I can't begin the weave as I've laid it out. I better be able to, because it's darn sure on there. There we go. Thank God, as happens all too often, what I need when I need it. And praise the Lord, I had a carabiner lying about right here. And the Horrible Freight bench that I use as a reloading bench has this wooden vise on the end of it. So there you go. There's my third hand right there. What did Morpheus say? You see coincidence, I see providence. All right, I'll get to weaving. Okay, so what I've done here is the carabiner is holding it there in that vise, and I've begun the weave here, and I'll come back to that. What I did is I put another carabiner down here and a slide and grip knot, and I tied it off to my chair. So what I'm able to do is I'm able to slide back and hold tension on this to really make it easy, hopefully easy anyway, to weave this thing into place. What I did is I came up, you can see, from the stitching up right through the loop, and that's going to hopefully cause that to initiate the weave ahead of any of that orange strapping, so none of the orange hopefully will be visible. We'll see how well I do on that. And then the black, if the camera will quit focusing in the background, did the same thing, only I did them on opposite sides. Notice that the blue is on the same as on this side. The black goes around the back and comes up, and then I've initiated the weave there. And now it's time to just do this. Again, it's a cobra knot, I believe is what it's called. I saw another video where they weaved it a little bit differently, so we keep one color on one side primarily and the other color on the other side. So we'll wind up with a primarily blue side and a primarily black side. Anyway, we'll get started and see how that works. Okay, so where we are here is something of a fail. It was likely going to happen, but I tried to avoid that. But in any case, I needed to cover 10 3/4 of an inch, and I actually covered 8 3/4 of an inch. There's a two-part way that this failed. The first thing is I've really had to bunch up the threads. I have to weave it, and then I have to push from the bottom very tight, forcefully, to try to close this gap up so we don't see the orange, and that has sort of worked up here. It's not great. So the first thing is, I guess really the first fail is I should have had black or blue for the webbing, and I'll order some and redo this when I get that stuff, or I'll see if a local craft store or something might have something like that. So having to tighten the weave up made me go through more cordage than I was when I had gapping like this. I still underestimated the amount of cord that I was going to need. Roughly 2 inches out of 10 3/4 is what, about 20%. I should have made them about 25% longer than what I had calculated. I calculated 86 inches at 1 inch burn rate per wrap, knowing that they weren't going to be perfectly tight. So yes, this is a little bit over 1 inch to go around that 3/4 inch webbing. But because of the gapping in there, that gives me something back. So I thought, 1 inch is probably good enough. Well, it wasn't good enough. Probably would have been fair to say 1 1/4 inches. That might have been a better way. That's 25% over. That probably would have gotten me where I needed to be. And that's what I'll do the next time I wrap one of these things. I'll do it for 1.25 inches around 3/4 of an inch, and that's 1.25 inches per color. So this is 90 inches right now, which is too short. The black is also 90 inches, which is too short. Interestingly, I'm using a little bit more of the black cord than the blue cord, so I'm not really sure where that's going, but whatever, doesn't matter. So there you go. It was a solid plan. I'll do another video, maybe several days or might be 10 years. I don't know. I'll get around to it, and I'll change that webbing out to a different color. That's all easily managed. What I will go over, though, are the ways in which I'm mounting these things. So let me come back over here. I'll lay these down. These are the stopper knots, and these are the mini monkey fist knots. They're not as god-awful to tie as you might think, but it is a little tedious. You tie them together, and they're loose, and you have to literally chase your tail all the way around this sucker, tightening it up. But once it's tightened up, let me walk over and I'll show you how this goes. I won't probably be able to feed that thing through, but I'll get it done. Hold on just a minute. I'll step over to the Jeep and I'll show you where this is going and how this is going to work. So on top of the Jeep roll bar, this is the front row. There are these 2 holes up top. You can see I've got the stopper monkey fist partially threaded though, so I can show you quickly and easily in a moment how that goes in. The hole on top is larger than the hole on the bottom, and I'm sure that there was an accessory or something that could be bolted into this item. So what I'm doing is I'm putting a monkey, sorry, let me get that out of the shadow. Putting the monkey fist down in there. It passes easily through the top hole, but not through the bottom hole, and gives me a neat, clean way to install an attachment point for this thing. So what I've done is I've laid the monkey fist up there. I've already just threaded just a hairpin of paracord through there to make it really easy to pull that loop through. And I left that tail on there, so if there's a day in the future I want to fish this out, I can reach in there with a pair of needle nose or just a bent coat hanger or something, grab that tail, pull it up, and then I can pull the whole loop out without having to leave it captive in the roll bar piece here. So I'll step down here, and then I'll just grab that tag like so, and there you go. There, that's in, and I've got that tag sticking out, and I'm going to leave it out now because later I'll probably remove that because I'm not going to put that crappy woven handle on here, so I don't want to take a chance that it bounces around across the fields and dirt roads and whatever, and gets in there and gets lost. So I'll pull that out, but then I could just easily take that tag in and stick that down inside the hole there, and it'll be as clean as you can get. Again, I only did the single loop instead of a double loop because if this wears out and breaks or whatever, it's not the end of the world. That's easily replaced. The other one I did a double because if that does get broken, then then I'm hosed. You know, then I have to weave a whole new handle. So there you go. That's how that's going to go in, and then pulls right back out. So there you go. I'll go order some webbing, and round 2, fight. Okay, one final note on this this attempted go around. I stretched it out a little bit and spaced out the weave the way I'd originally envisioned it being, and then I almost have enough cordage there. So my calculation coming up with 90 inches, 86 inches, rounded up to 90 just for the heck of it. Oh, if I'd made it 96, so maybe like 7% longer or so than what I calculated for, I probably would have been just fine. If I had another 6 inches on there, I could maybe get this done. Again, obviously it shows too much orange. Let's flip over to the black side, and you can see, flip it over to the dark side, and you can see, you know, so much orange sticking through, and that's just awful. So I'm going to still go ahead and do what I said, which is to order some webbing. It's still a fairly big grip. I'm 6'1", I don't know, hands are whatever, fairly big, and it's still a little girthy, although it may be fine. The other note I want to make about that is that when I spaced out the webbing to the spacing that you see there, the feel is much improved as far as the soft feel and the flexibility, which is not surprising, but it's worth mentioning. So it depends on what your final product is that you desire, what the appearance is, and also what the feel is going to be when you actually use this thing. So anyway, that's it for now. That's the end of this one. I'll order or find other webbing, and I'll do a separate video on redoing it from beginning to end.